You're listening to Spangled Banter with James and Peyton, the social and political commentary podcast where we rant, you decide.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning.
What up, Banter fans?
Hey.
Just to reiterate what Mr. Trump said there at the end is that you may get tired of winning, but you will not get tired of the Spangled Banter podcast.
Hell yeah. I know I don't.
I am your host on the left, Peyton Berger. With me, as always, on the right, Jim Kaluger.
What up, kids?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. It's
Good.
been a good week. Nothing too crazy happened.
Weather kind of equaled out a little
Weather
bit.
equaled out, thank God. I actually wore pants for one day, which was nice. God, it was so nice to not actually sweat through my clothes for once.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, my week was pretty good.
Sweet, yeah.
How about yourself? What'd you have going on?
Well, let's see here. Let's see what happened to me this week. Let's see. I worked on the new CBS show coming out. I think it's on CBS called SEAL Team.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
It's about a Navy SEAL camp or something. That was a lot of fun. I actually worked with a buddy of mine. We both booked the same job, so...
Working those 12-hour days?
No, that one actually was only like 6 hours.
Oh, wow, you got lucky.
And it was like a cafeteria scene.
You got
so.
lucky. You weren't standing out in the heat. And, like,
Nope. I
12
mean, they still put us in like, heavy fatigues and everything.
Of course, but
actually, that's a funny story because we were on set and I don't know how much I can talk about it. But, I mean, obviously the story itself I'm not going to talk about, just in case. They didn't make me sign an NDA, but...
Oh, okay. Well, then you can tell what happened to you. You just can't say what the plot's
What
about.
happened to me?
Yeah,
Or
like-
just something that I observed?
Or either one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, the DP, for those of you who don't know film lingo, that is the director of photography, who, if you think about it, really is the second in command of film shoots. Like,
Yeah.
he's like
Like if the director were to get shot by a hidden sniper someplace, the DP
the
would go,
DP would
okay.
essentially take over.
Yeah.
Him or the AD,
Yeah.
the assistant director.
There'd be a fight briefly.
Yeah, but essentially that. The director of photography is like one of the top 5 positions you can have on a film shoot. I don't know what was happening, but essentially he and one of the main camera operators got into a little bit of a tiff, and it was the camera A op. They were like going after each other, they were like yelling at each other, and the camera op was like getting all fussy and was like, quit telling me how to do my job. I'm doing the best I can. I'm trying to do da. And the DP was just like brushing him off like it was nothing. Everybody on the crew has like earpieces in, so they can like they're all connected with walkie-talkies, and I don't know what happened, but the next shot happened. The director yelled cut, and the camera op and he lets go and just smacks the camera, and it like spins around on the crane, and he just storms off of set.
Holy shit. Did he come back to the set?
He did.
Or was that
He
kinda...
did actually, and this is kind of cool. So the lead in SEAL Team, I'm gonna butcher his name. David Behrens. Is that how you say his name? It's the guy from Bones.
Yeah, I wouldn't know how
He
to
played
say his
Angel in
Yeah, I know who he
Buffy
is.
the
I know who he
Vampire
is. I just don't know
Slayer.
how to pronounce his last name.
It's like Behrens or Bereens or
something.
Berens. I'm
David, if you're
so
listening,
sorry, David,
we're
that
sorry.
I'm butchering your last name. But I'm going to praise your name, however, because you did an awesome thing. So after that had happened and they were like resetting, he literally got up from where the scene was happening and he went and he followed the camera op, and I was watching from afar, and he actually like pulled him aside and was like talking with them and for like a few minutes, and then he comes back in with like a smile on his face, and they're like chuckling from like a joke or something, and David like pats him on the back and he's like, "You're doing good, man. You're doing good." And I'm like, that's badass. The thing is though, is that someone like David, who's been on television for like 20 years now?
Yeah.
He did Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He did Angel. He did Bones.
Yep.
And now he's on this new SEAL Team show. And apparently this SEAL Team show is supposed to be pretty badass. Like, hasn't even premiered yet, and already they've got 3 Emmy nominations. So
What?
Yeah, that's what I heard. So
You know you're that good when your show is already nominated for Emmy and you're not even out yet.
Exactly. So, and you know what? I appreciate moments like that, because a lot of times, a lot of people will look at the film industry or the entertainment industry, and they're just like, it's just filled with a bunch of prissy, no good, like, prima donnas kind of thing. And the fact that this guy took the time out of that, that moment when he's supposed to be acting in a scene to go make sure that someone on the fellow team is okay.
Yeah.
He didn't have to do that, but he did that
He
anyway.
could
It
have
was
walked
like,
back to his trailer and been like, "What's up with that dude?" And
yeah,
like,
he
back of the
extended
head.
like a bit of. I mean, now obviously, I'm sure he was like, I mean, if you leave, like, we're not going to have.
we're screwed.
We're not going to have camera A rolling. So, but I also think part of it was like, hey, you're on the team. I know it's a rough day, but just hang in there. We're all here to support you. We're all here, and I love that. I love the camaraderie that comes with it. I mean, I also love when shit like that happens because you're like. I mean, that camera is at least $5,000 that he hit.
least.
Oh,
That's
man.
right, folks. The drama doesn't always happen when the cameras are rolling.
I thought that was hilarious. Seriously, that was so funny to me. So that was fun. Other than that, everything was kind of okay. And then my car got broken into.
Really?
Yep.
What a crappy way to cap off your week.
It sucked, man. I felt violated.
I've had that happen once before. Nothing makes you feel worse. It makes you feel like someone's just come in and like rifled through your underwear drawer and posted all your naughty pictures online or something. It just feels really, really bad.
Yeah, it's just like, ugh. Like my wife and I were downtown for a rehearsal that for a show that she's going to be in, a theater show. And we were there for like a few hours, and I was kind of helping out with the read. And as we were, leaving and walking back to my car, my wife was just like, "Oh my God, honey, someone broke into your car." And at first I thought she was kidding. Like I thought she was like
You're
playing
right,
a
just
joke
playing-
on me.
playing around.
And sure enough, I go to the passenger side back window, and it's gone. Like it's smashed to shit.
And this happened while you were...
Yeah, this happened while we were at the rehearsal. What sucks worse, I didn't have to be at this rehearsal. That's what hurts the worst, is that I didn't have to
it
be
could have been
there.
avoided.
But I
Oh,
did
the
there to
worst.
support her. I did there to support my friends that were in this show. I did it because I'm a good guy. And what happened? Good guys ended last.
It's all right, dude. Karma's a bitch, and it'll come back to get this guy. So.
Right? So that was just kind of bum.
Because what did he take? I mean, did he take a bunch of
Well,
your stuff? or
thank
what?
God he only took one thing. And I mean, it sucks because the one thing that he took is actually like it was a
It was a sentimental thing.
yeah, it was like a light brown sports jacket, like a blazer coat.
That's the one you wore to the Vagabond premiere, right?
Yeah, I bought that jacket specifically for the premiere,
Look at his
and
memories, man. That
it
thing-
really does. Like, yeah, I'm looking at pictures. Jim's got pictures on the
I
wall
do. Oh.
of the premiere, and there I am.
Oh, God.
That jacket was so sexy, dude.
It was,
seriously.
dude.
I mean,
It was
I've-
good color on
I
you.
got so many compliments from that jacket.
Did you?
Like, yeah,
It looked
I got
good,
a
man. It
lot
looked
of
good.
compliments from that jacket. So
Well-
it was just such a bummer. So I called the police, and they came over, and I was giving them the report. Now, thankfully, where we were parked was actually between a parking garage and an auto shop, and I know for a fact that there are cameras in the parking garage, and then most auto repair shops have their own cameras because they're subject to theft heavily because of chop shops
Yep.
and stuff like that.
And usually they've got cameras in every single.
Oh yeah,
angle.
I turned the corner 5 feet from where we were parked. For sure, I saw 2 security cameras like right off the bat on this shop. I put in the report, and obviously, I say obviously, I'm hoping, but it's obvious that someone will see where this guy went or who he was or if they've got him on file somewhere or whatever. My wife speculates that it was some punk kid walking on by. He saw a bunch of clothes in the back seat of the car. I keep a lot of clothes back there for background work and the film stuff that I do. So I'm sure he just thought, oh, there's like a laptop or some expensive piece of electronics. And when he rummaged through it and found nothing, he was like, oh, well, fuck this idiot. I'm just going to take his jacket.
Wah, wah.
Oh, man.
And that's why I limo tint the back of my windows because not that I keep anything in my
Yeah.
car anyway, but I don't want to give anybody any ideas.
This is what's funny, though, is that I was trying to joke around with my wife and the police officer just because I was trying to keep my cool and not feel so sad or depressed. I was when I got home because I just couldn't sleep. I just felt so icky. But this is what happened. Now, this is what's great. I've never been asked this question before, so it threw me off guard. But after I gave him all the information, the cop was like, if we catch this guy, would you like us to arrest him and press charges against him? Now, I've never been asked this question before, and I've never had that much power. I've never had a cop say, here, you could do whatever the hell you want.
We'll just look over here.
We'll just look over here, what kind of thing. So this was my response. I go, well, I don't know if I want him like arrested, but I'd at least like to hear his side of the story.
I'd like to know why.
I legitimately asked that question, of which I asked it, and without missing a beat, my wife steps in and goes, fuck that, arrest the guy.
Some reason.
Oh.
Peyton's over here trying to negotiate a UN deal. Leah's like, fuck that shit.
My wife,
Throw
the
the
voice
book at
of
'em.
reason here. I just thought that was so funny. So I was talking to the cop a little bit, and I told him I was upset, and then I told him I'd actually be more upset if I found out the guy that took my jacket didn't land the job interview the next day. But this is kind of something fun, is that, I say fun, but
This is great. Yeah.
interesting. I was talking about how maybe we should get insurance involved to see if they can cover it. And the cop was like, well, what's your deductible? And I said, our deductible's like, I don't know, maybe like $500 or something. And even the cop was like, you're better off just going to a regular repair shop and just doing that out of pocket. Because he's like, a window like that's going to cost you no more than like $100 to $150. Which now in my head I'm going, then what's the point of having insurance if it's not gonna work?
Again, I don't understand how insurance companies stay in business. It's like they never give you any money, they never cash you out anything. It's always your fault. They're always jacking up your deduct. I don't know.
Right?
That's
just so confusing
how
to
insurance
me.
companies make their money. I don't get it. So again, I'm sorry that crap happened.
It's but I've had no time to, because this literally just happened like a couple days ago, and I've had no time to take it in and get a quote. So I've got like a black trash bag duct taped to like my whole car.
Which cracks me up because when I'm on the road, I see people, with a trash bag in their window. I'm always thinking, oh, who's the loser driving around with a duct tape?
Right? I feel like, I do. I feel
now
like,
I'm
such a
oh.
loser. And now like one of your best friends have that happen
And I'm like,
to
oh,
me.
well, there you go.
So that was my week. It's been an odd week. I'm still kind of like in between jobs. I've got cabin fever like madness. I just want to get out of the house and work again.
I feel you, dude.
I never thought I would.
Right there.
I never thought I'd be in that position. You know, and you're like 15, 16 years old, and I'm just like, I just want to play video games.
Right?
I just want to
hang out
do
in the
this.
house, do whatever.
I'm like 6 months away from being 30.
You're like,
and
I
want to
work.
I want to work. I want to go to work.
It's like those kids who always wanted to go to school. You're like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
like,
right?
Now you're that guy.
Now
You're
I'm that guy.
Oh.
I am what I hated growing up.
Well, hey, listen, we hope for both our sakes we get some solid work around here, or at least we start monetizing this podcast.
Oh yeah, are we close?
Well, we have a pathway. It's not necessarily through somebody, but I did some research and we have a pretty strong pathway. It just depends on how much money you want to.
All right. Well, did you hear that, folks? That means that we will be monetizing this thing very soon. Hopefully, getting it up on iTunes.
Yes. Hopefully,
I know
there's been
quite a few people have messaged me saying that they would love to keep listening to it, but of course listening to it via YouTube is going to eat up all your data, and we don't want to do that. So we're working on getting it on iTunes so that you can, subscribe, you can download the episodes, and of course we'll have like a donation thing if you wish to donate.
We'll go all out with that, so you guys will be able to donate, comment, make suggestions, whatever. I want to have it happen within the next couple of weeks. I think we can get it done.
I think we can get it done.
I think it'll be done in the next couple of weeks. But in any case,
well, keep your eyes open. I'm also hoping to take some promo shots. Obviously, we post about each episode each week, but I always feel bad because I'm just like, I wish we had more shit.
Yeah,
to
it's just
post.
the same title card every week, and I'm like, I want to give you guys something a little more exciting to look at.
We do have a friend. Her name is Danny. I guess it's Huang Gadigan.
Yeah.
Is that what she goes by now?
I guess. Danny again. I'm sorry.
You're just Danny.
You're Danny to us.
You're Danny
what
to
am I
us.
gonna say?
She is a sweetheart. She
Absolutely.
is such a sweetheart. So, but she actually has her own YouTube channel and her own clients that she works with, through that. And she actually has approached us with the possibility of actually recording us via video as we record each episode. So now you get the chance to kind of see us in our space or in a different space, and actually watch us.
You can put the face to the name and that kind of thing.
Big things are on the horizon. It's just it's taken a while just because we're new to this podcast thing.
And it'd be nice to have more than 3 listeners. I mean,
we have more than 3 listeners. Let's not sell ourselves short on this one.
Too late.
Bunch of losers just talking to nobody.
So,
but stay tuned. There's some neat stuff on the horizon, and we're hoping to streamline this thing. And
and you should see us on YouTunes within fairly short amount of time.
YouTunes.
What if that was a thing?
I'm surprised it's not, right?
iTunes.
I
Catch
like
us
that.
on iTunes. Maybe YouTunes. Who knows? By the time we get out there, that might combine services. But hang tight. You'll see us out there. We'll be finally on the mainstream, and hopefully you'll like what you see and hear. Until then, hang tight because we're ready to come back with some more fun stuff when we come back with not 1, not 2, but multiple politics of the week.
Multiple feet and mouths this
I don't know
week.
what happened this week.
Something.
But people were just...
It's like there was something in the water that just exasperated the stupid
Yeah,
in
'cause
everybody.
it was times 20. But hang tight, folks. You're gonna hear all about it when we come back.
Uh-huh.
And now it's time for Politic of the Week, the part of our show where we introduce to you a political or social figure who has been particularly stupid in the eyes of the nation. Hold tight, for there's no telling what amount of bullshittery we may encounter next.
And boy howdy, do we have some bullshittery for you this week.
Bags and bags of it, man.
Oh,
It's like,
man.
we went to Costco and got the bulk of some
They
food.
came in droves, dude.
Oh no.
Shit.
I don't even know where they're coming from.
Man, because you found at least 2, and I found at least 2.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I couldn't figure out which one I really wanted because they're both pretty fucking stupid.
right, like everyone had some pretty dumb shit
Yeah.
stuff to this week, but in my head I was just like, let's just do all
just
of
do
them,
right?
Let's
Why
just-
not?
Why not? You know.
Politics of the week.
Yeah,
The whole
this is a-
smorgasbord.
Yeah, this is our podcast. We can do whatever the
Right?
hell we want with it. So
Kind of producers. We are the producers.
yeah, seriously. I'm gonna let you go first since this was technically
All
your
right.
week.
Well,
So
you know,
what do you got?
Well, she may be a good actress, but she sure don't know shit about weather.
Who does?
Right? I don't even know how that happens.
Even meteorologists
Right,
guess
right.
half the time.
It's
like-
gonna be sunny today, and it's like pouring rain outside. You fucking liars. As I always say, meteorologists are the only people that could be totally wrong at what they're doing
Yep.
and still keep their job. If I was a surgeon and I went, well, it's time to cut out the spleen. Oh shit, I meant the stomach. Oh well.
If I may paraphrase Lewis Black on this one, which I usually do, he's like one of my favorite comedians. He said once, the cushiest job in the entire world is being a weatherman in San Diego, because you literally get paid upwards of like $100,000 a year, maybe more, with nice, you get like benefits, you get insurance, you get like media coverage, you get all sorts of stuff. And yeah, you're looking at like a 6-figure salary a year just to go on TV and for someone to go, "What's the weather look like, Todd?" It's nice. Back to you.
True story.
Easiest job in the
Easy.
fucking
All
world,
you gotta do is
man.
look out the window. Looks nice.
Nice, yeah.
Back to you. Well,
So, in regards to weather, what actress is it?
unfortunately, Jennifer Lawrence knows jack shit about weather.
No.
Because here's the problem, and look, being a Hollywood guy myself, I always try to give our Hollywood peeps a little bit of leeway because, well, at some point I might actually have to work with them.
Yeah, they're peers,
They're
they're
peers,
colleagues,
yeah.
to
and
a lesser
to a lesser degree, I want to give you a little bit of wiggle room, but
Right.
again, I did my research on what it was that she said that was so particularly stupid, and and let me tell you, this was pretty politicky. Apparently, Jennifer Lawrence, in a interview on Channel 4 in the UK, a Channel 4 reporter, among other things, was talking to Jennifer Lawrence about her upcoming movie Mother, directed by
Darren Aronofsky.
which, as we said before, means it's going to be
It's
weird.
gonna be weird. Well, because he's British, which makes sense why she's over there,
Right, in Channel
promoting
4.
it.
But
But Darren Aronofsky, for those of you, just a little side note, he's famous for movies like Requiem for a Dream, Black Swan, The Wrestler, and his most recent movie Noah with
Yeah.
Russell Crowe that came out a few years ago. So yeah, it's his new movie that's coming out. Actually, this weekend it's coming
Yeah,
out.
so
This upcoming weekend.
somewhat of a shameless plug, apparently.
Little bit.
Indirect plug. But anyway, so she was promoting this movie and talking about it in this interview, and along the course of her discussion, she just started talking about Mother Nature and the hurricanes the United States has been facing over the past couple weeks.
Ah.
Well, apparently, in so many words or directly, it kind of sounds like it was both, Jennifer Lawrence blames the incredible hurricanes on the fact that the United States elected Donald Trump as their president. And I'm like,
You know what's great about that?
One of
my politics
is right.
is
Say
something
the same
similar
thing,
to
like,
that.
and I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, first off, J-Law, hurricanes happen in the Gulf all the time. Some years we get some years we get none, some years we get a shitstorm, which is exactly what's happening right now.
Hell, we got a hurricane in New York not that long
Exactly.
ago. Like,
Now, okay. So to clarify what it was that she was saying, one of the quotes that she told this Channel 4 reporter was, quote, "We voted and it was really, really startling."
mm-hmm.
She says, "You know you're watching these hurricanes now, and it's really hard, especially while promoting this movie, not to feel Mother Nature's rage or wrath." End quote.
Cause Mother, the
Because
movie.
Mother. See what you did there, Jay. See what you did. So,
Oh,
I don't know
man.
about you. Now, granted, yeah, he's God. He can do whatever he wants. But I really don't think that God is using these hurricanes as punishment for electing Donald Trump. Especially because these hurricanes have blasted through, let's see, where is it? Not just the United States. They blasted through Antigua, Barbuda, the tiny island nation that did not elect Donald Trump, which was decimated by the storm. It also blew through the British Virgin Islands, which belongs to the UK, and did not elect Donald Trump to the presidency in 2016, which suffered significant damage as well. So I want to know, Jennifer, how do you justify that? Okay, because if this was a hurricane that was just punishing us for electing Trump, wouldn't it kind of go, sidestepping all those guys and coming back and bam, gotcha, Mar-a-Lago?
You would think
You
that,
would think.
but I've seen this before because I've seen a lot of people try to justify this. Is because not only did Hurricane Harvey hit specifically Texas and Louisiana, but now Hurricane Irma is coming in and is essentially going to just destroy Florida from the sounds of it, because it's like what, category 4, 5 now?
It's category 4.
It's closing in.
It was category like 6 way out in the ocean.
Oh yeah, it was a category 6
came
way
back
out
up,
in the oceans. So it's a pretty hellish thing that's going on in the southeast right now. But I think the reason why though is because these hurricanes seem to be targeting red states. So I think that's why the justification is, oh, this is what you get in my head. I'm kind of like, hey, it's stupid. They legitimately will bring up maps of Louisiana and Texas, but we're talking like detailed maps, like each district of Texas, and it's illuminated which districts are red and which are blue, and they're trying to pinpoint like where the epicenter and the eyes of the storm and where it got hit the worst, and they're like, look, parts of it are in blue, and I'm like, well, parts of it are in red, and in my head I'm going, why the fuck are we even
Right?
like,
Why is this a
like,
conversation
why is
right
this
now?
a conversation right
It's
now?
a storm.
It's a
coming
goddamn
through
storm.
The state wrecking havoc, dude. So come on.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because per the Christian thing, per like the God thing, our dear buddy Kirk Cameron said something in a very similar vein to what Jennifer Lawrence did. He essentially made it a lot more, about Christianity in that regard. But he was basically saying that he claimed that God sends destructive hurricanes like Harvey and Irma to teach people lessons for their sins. Now, okay, here's the funny thing, is that he says shit like that, and then there's plenty of pastors across the country, my pastor included, they're just shaking their heads like, this
Because
is just
I don't think God is up there with lightning bolts going, who's going to get it?
He's not Zeus.
Yeah,
like,
right?
This is not like the Greek gods,
Right?
like
So I'm
coming
like-
down off
Now,
Olympus.
again,
just
and like we
decimating the
talked
land.
about in our pre-meeting, yeah, sure, God could use things to teach us something or to bring a message, but usually it's like, hey, here's a storm, rise above it and come together and show my love to other people. It's not like, you voted for
Right.
Trump,
See,
there goes your house.
That's been my biggest issue, is that when Kirk Cameron, someone like him, comes out and says shit like that, I'm going, buddy, you're focusing on the wrong thing. The thing you need to focus on is the fact that there are people literally drowning and floating and swimming underwater where their front door should be.
Right.
Why don't you use your time, money, and resources to send some help to get those people out of there? I
Again,
mean,
not to disparage Kirk too much, because I think his heart is in the right place, and it often is, in my opinion.
his heart's in the right place.
But-
His head is not.
Well, yeah, but I think right now he's not doing that because he's kind of doing the same thing that Osteen was doing. Osteen was
Right.
talking
No,
a big
he-
game, but not putting his money where his mouth was.
Exactly. That's exactly what he was. But as we've seen with Kirk, yeah, he's usually pretty late to the game with stuff like that. And he's been out of the media for a while, so it makes sense that he would say something kind of.
So I get it. He's kind of a little out of the
bizarre.
loop. But again,
I just find that hilarious.
it's
that
funny,
a lot of
hilarious that people are like, oh, the hurricanes are.
hurricanes
God
are-
is disappointed that we voted for Trump, so here comes the What puritanical village did you fall out of? Like, where's your
Right?
scarlet letter, Jennifer Lawrence?
This is Crucible level
Crucible, right?
shit.
What, you just forgot to finish reading the Crucible? That's God is
Yeah.
smiting us all. Like, give me
It's
a break.
funny because one of my politics, if
we're
are
done.
you good to move on?
I'm good. J-Law, you had your light in the sun.
I know. So one of my politics is in a very similar vein with the whole issue with the weather and the hurricanes and everything. And And this guy, this is another one that I'm kind of surprised hasn't made the list yet, but he's making the list this week. It is conservative radio host Rush Limbaugh.
Half of our audience went,
I know. Everybody got a little queasy. Now, this doesn't really disturb me as much. I laughed. I laughed
Yeah,
my
it
ass
wasn't
off
disturbing.
when
It was like,
I
what?
read this story. Okay, so Rush Limbaugh had made some statements earlier this last week, or even the week before, where he basically was saying, Limbaugh told his national audience on Tuesday, so it was this last Tuesday that it happened, that he believed the press was hyping coverage of Hurricane Irma to, quote, advance this climate change agenda. He was basically saying that Hurricane Irma was either A, not as bad as everyone was making it out to be, or B, not existing at all. He thought that this was just another left-wing agenda to push this whole idea of climate change and global warming and all of this, and he ranted pretty nuttily about it on his show. And of course, everyone was just like, oh, Rush, you're an idiot, you know, like clearly you could see that this is a real thing. But he thought, you know, once in his Rush Limbaugh way, he was just like, oh, the liberals, god damn it. So,
I mean, I say that often, but I don't usually think it, you know, in this particular case, I don't think he's right, because look out the window, Rush.
Look out the window. Well, he did, and guess what Rush Limbaugh did? Rush Limbaugh, a few days after he ranted and raved about liberal propaganda about climate change, packed up his Florida home and left the state.
Hey, Rush. How's that liberal lie coming along?
I busted a gut when I read
Okay,
that.
look, I'm going to say this right now. As the conservative-leaning guy on this podcast, do I think the liberal left exaggerates climate change and weather and blah, blah, blah? Absolutely I do. But I think any person with two eyes and a brain and a pulse who looks at a television set or lives in Florida and looks out their window or who knows anything about, I don't know, science at all will realize that we're not making up this Category 5 hurricane, Rush. It's a real thing.
It's out there. It's your next door neighbor,
It's your next
buddy.
door neighbor, buddy. It's coming at you fast.
Also, if I can add something else, Rush, you dumbass. First off, you live in Florida, okay? Florida gets hit by more weather than any other state I could think of.
The hurricanes in Florida are like Oscars here in Hollywood. It's like, oh, it's Oscar season.
Oh, it's
again.
Oscar season. Well, it's hurricane season down in Florida.
Time to board up my windows. Like,
Good Lord, like you live in a state where your housing market is
God.
Oh, dude, cost of living in Florida is so low.
I wouldn't own a house if I had to live in Florida. I would own an RV, so that way I could just pick up and can book
and
it.
go.
Yep.
Yeah, just live in an RV park
Yep, like
across the street from Disney World.
Exactly. I would just buy this really swank, really nice RV, like top of the line, everything.
Yeah.
And I would just live in that. But the fact that this guy lives in Florida and has the gall to say, "Oh, it must be it's a liberal lie and it's liberal blah blah blah." Okay, again, granted, Rush. Like I said, I think there are certain things the liberals say that are outright bunk. But I think this is pretty, you know.
It's just, yeah, it's pretty
science, dude. It's science. I can't argue with the sky's blue, the grass is green, there's a Category 5 hurricane ripping through Florida. That's just what it is.
That's the hard thing for me is that do I believe climate change and global warming exist? Do I believe that these things are real? Yes, I absolutely do.
I believe climate change is a real thing.
Scientifically, these things are real. Do I think that they get exasperated sometimes? Yes.
Yes,
I mean,
do, absolutely.
And a lot of it is because a lot of people are like, you know, well, it's because we humans are screwing the planet over with all of our, you know, lithium and
okay, and
oil
to a degree we
reserves,
are definitely affecting
you know.
our planet.
But
But
what is it that they say that we give off? What's
Methane.
Is it methane?
Methane.
All right. It's like methane gas that we give off apparently
Methane
because
gas.
of overpopulation of the planet. And I'm
Methane
like,
methane gas basically is what we excrete when we have to pass wind. So what are we supposed to do? Liberals plug up our assholes and try to hold it for the next 80 years?
Nope, I'm letting it go.
Yep. Silent but deadly, buddy. You're going to be. So here's my thing.
But see that's the thing though is that yes, we as human beings do have an effect on the environment, you know, not just actively but passively as well. But if you look throughout history, if you look throughout the entirety of the planet Earth's existence, whether it be 10,000 years old or 10 million years old, the planet goes through changes.
Yeah,
it goes
through a cycle.
shifts. And for lack of a better term, the planet kind of resets itself every like
The
few
planet is
hundred
smarter
years or
than we
something.
are.
Yeah.
The planet is smart enough to go, oh, these fucking nuts are, dicking
Think
things
of-
up.
yeah, think
I'm
of-
going to fix this.
Think of Earth as an artificial intelligence
Yeah.
of sorts, It knows when something's wrong, and it's like, hang on a minute here,
Yep.
and it will do stuff to sort of reset itself in a weird way. Plus, not only that, let's think about this. We, as the planet Earth, we are this giant ball of rock and molten lava and trees and water, but we are a very, very minute percentage of this giant universe. Literally, there are solar flares that happen from the sun that's millions of light years away that affect the temperature, that affect the climate from solar flares. And we got like meteors and comets and
Ice crystals and
all kinds of
all
random
sorts of stuff.
shit flying through space. A lot of these things are big enough to wipe out the entire planet.
Yeah.
There's got to be, parts of it I'm sure come from out there as well. Like
Yeah, they
there's
come
got
from
to be
galaxies away. This is stuff that's been traveling for light years.
Exactly. So as much as I do agree that we affect the environment and affect the climate, I think that there's also other things that we don't have control over because it's just the world adjusting. And especially if you want to refer to Earth as Mother Earth, if you want to give it some sort of like Homo sapien persona, then you have to think of it as, well, humans adjust to things when things go crazy. Why wouldn't Mother Earth?
Exactly.
Why wouldn't the planet adjust?
And here's my point too is, look, the Earth goes through cycles. Everything on the Earth, if you look at nature and how it operates, everything goes in a cycle. Like, for example, rain. Rain falls, seeps into the ground, comes back up through evaporation, and forms clouds, comes down through precipitation. It's a constant cycle.
Yep.
So does the circle of life, if you will. Don't cue the Disney song. But
No, I'm raising an
oh, no,
imaginary
here we
line
go.
in my
Here we
head.
go. Pennsylvania! Anyway. But no, honestly, think everything comes in an actual circle in nature, including how the climate adjusts itself.
Yep.
And what's to say that we haven't had these massive heat waves thousands of years ago, but our little asses weren't here to freak out about it? Only now we're like, oh
Exactly,
my God, we
yeah.
must be doing something to the Earth.
With the invention,
Raise prices on electricity. That'll fucking solve it.
With the invention of mass media and world media,
Yeah.
obviously we are more aware of the shit that's going on in the world than they knew 500,
Exactly.
300, even 200 years ago.
200 years ago, you only knew what was happening in your own village.
Yeah.
You didn't really know what was happening outside the town you were in.
So
let alone
obviously,
the
yeah,
globe.
we're way more aware of the shit that's happening right now than we were even 200 years ago. Yes, do we need to bear down and realize that these things are affecting us? Absolutely. I think the beauty of it is not so much in trying to prevent these things, but the beauty of it as humanity is that when these things happen, we can band together and go, let's help each other. Because people are hurting. People are drowning. I mean, you got these fires up and down the west coast of America. Now you've got all of the southeast completely flooded and underwater. These are the times where we need to get out there and try to help people. We need to get out there and just support one another and lend a helping hand wherever we can. That's what's going to make a big difference than
Exactly.
trying to prevent something that, again, when it's you against the planet, I think the planet's going to win.
Yeah, you're gonna lose, buddy. Trust me. Okay.
That's
so-
not all of our politics.
No,
though,
there's
is it?
there's
So-
one more, which she's a politic for a lot of reasons. Some people might be like, no, she's not. She is, and even some of her own people want her to just shut the fuck up and go away.
Yeah.
And that is former presidential candidate Hillary Clinton.
Dun 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 dun.
Anyway,
A lot of my liberal friends now hate me. 'cause
right?
I'm
They're like,
like,
I'm never listening
yeah.
to this show again.
God forbid that I, a liberal, don't like Hillary Clinton.
God. Never mind that, even the liberals now in her own camp don't even care for her.
Yeah.
Anyway, so apparently Hillary Clinton is going to be releasing a book within the next few days, week, whatever,
Okay.
entitled What Happened? Basically chronicling her historic loss to Donald J. Trump in the 2016 election. Well, really quick, Hillary, I can tell you what happened. You ran, you sucked, and you lost to Donald Trump. That's what happened. I solved your problem for you. You can go away now. Is she well within her rights to write a book about what happened to herself? Yes, absolutely she is. But what gets me is the fact that in this book, there are excerpts where she continuously blames everybody else, again, for her
No
loss.
way.
Yeah, right?
Clinton blames someone else.
Somebody else? That's impossible! Let's see who her people that she's gone through.
Wait, she names them?
Well, she names who the people who caused
She
her.
lambasts
She
them
lambasts
by
them by
name in
name.
her. Oh, God.
Of course, they include President Barack Obama.
Are you serious?
Yes. former FBI Director James Comey. Bernie Sanders gets a giant shellacking in this book. She essentially, calls him.
bitch.
Yeah, she essentially calls him every name under the sun. And of course, Trump voters, because they're still deplorable, and Donald Trump himself. Everybody, you'll notice, but her. The thing is that's pissing off a lot of her own former supporters and even former staffers is what she's doing is just rehashing wounds from the 2016 election.
Yeah.
And they just want her to shut up and go away. And these are actual
See,
words. But,
and again, this is to all of you Democrats out there. I'm just gonna say it flat out. The main reason she lost, it has nothing to do with Benghazi. It had nothing to do with any amount of fraud that she pulled or that Bill pulled or whatever happened with James Comey or anything of that. Had nothing to do with that. The moment Clinton lost this election was when they found out her specific campaign group sabotaged Bernie Sanders. I guarantee you that's the reason why. Because
definitely
Bernie
pissed off a lot of
Sanders
people.
he had a bigger popularity percentage than Clinton did.
Yeah.
He had way more students.
yeah, way more youth vote.
Oh, he had a big
He
youth
had
vote.
about 65.
dude.
He had about 65, 75% of the
Yeah,
vote for
he
youth.
focused on issues that, I mean, really, if you think about it, like if these issues got fixed, they would fix a lot of problems. Stuff with healthcare, stuff with education, stuff with taxes. These are the issues that needed to be addressed, and no one else was addressing them. Again, except for who? Bernie Sanders. Whether you agree with his policies or not, whether you agree with his tactics of how he did it, he addressed the core issues that needed to be dealt with immediately.
Bernie Sanders was the unfortunate victim of the Clinton mob.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
he-
I guarantee you, if it was Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump, it would be President Sanders in the Oval Office right now. I
It'd be
guarantee
pretty
you.
close.
I-
I've
it
thought
would
about
come
that
it would
myself.
come closer
I've
than
thought
what it
about
came
that
to this
myself.
last one.
I'm like, is that? But here's the thing with Clinton is she's not likable. She is not
No,
likable.
not at all.
Nobody.
Absolutely
Her own
not.
party doesn't care for her. So the very fact that okay, here's what frustrated me about this election cycle is you had two of the most frustratingly bad candidates on either side. And it was like trying to vote for the lesser of two evils. That was what was the most irritating thing. But Clinton herself is absolutely unlikable. And with things like this book, what happened? Well, you're a horrible candidate that nobody likes. What happened? You tried to run as president. That's what happened. And the fact that she's continually blaming other people.
Yeah. Oh, she's blame shifting like
blame
madness,
shifting and now you can literally follow her train of thought in this book of how she blame shifts
Yeah.
and continues to do so.
May I also point out that within the last 6 to 8 months that Trump has been president, how many times has she publicly come out and said anything regarding his policies, regarding issues within the nation? I've heard her say one fucking thing over the last 6 to 8
she'd
months.
rather-
Whereas you got people like Elizabeth Warren, like Bernie Sanders, like Cory Booker. You've got these other people that are constantly talking and saying things. And she kept saying throughout the entirety of her campaign, I am the candidate of the people. No, you're fucking not, because you have stayed quiet so much during this entire run of Trump so far. And now you want to release this book saying, well, it's everybody else's fucking fault that I fucking lost.
Yep.
Ooh,
Yeah.
Warpath Payton.
Yeah, Warpath.
He's coming. He's coming.
Release the Kraken!
But that's the struggle that I have, is that after the Bernie Sanders debacle had happened, so many Democrats and liberals and Bernie supporters, they would not come out and say that they supported Hillary. And that pissed off...
They shouldn't have to.
That's the problem. That pissed off a lot of Democrats and a lot of liberals. And the reason why is because they thought that them not supporting Hillary was direct defiance against the Democratic Party.
No, it's them not supporting Hillary.
Exactly, but I would beg to differ that those people that supported Bernie, they weren't looking at it from a stance of, I'm a liberal, I'm a Democrat, I am this. They looked at it from, he wants to deal with the issues, she doesn't. They looked at it from, I don't think I'm using the right word here, but in a weird way, they looked at it from a more ethical standpoint.
Well, I think they looked at it from a more personal standpoint because he was talking about the things that were more personally affecting them right then and there.
Exactly.
That if they were fixed, would affect them.
No. Bernie struck a heartstring of America that hadn't been touched in quite a while. And that was the problem, is that this had nothing to do with party lines. This had to do with what we need to deal with, what is right, what is wrong, blah, 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 whatever, what you will. And so people started to realize, oh shit, it's not about right against left. It's not about Democrat versus Republican. It's about the grand scheme of this needs to get dealt with.
Yeah.
Now, granted, and this is going to happen with any candidate, there were moments that Bernie was playing up the liberal card, but that's going to happen with any candidate
Everybody
during
does that.
any campaign whatsoever. And a lot of that's just because you got to get the votes.
But here's what gets me too, is that the reason why Hillary pulled what she pulled was because she believed it was her turn. Like it was her turn to be president, because she was, whether because she was a woman or because she'd been in Washington all those many years, it doesn't really matter. She felt it was her turn. Well, there's too many cards stacked against her, and yeah, you say that she lost it when she turned on Bernie. Yeah, that was probably one of the final nails in her coffin. But
Yeah.
I think
I
think Benghazi, I think
it
the
had been-
corruption, I think all this other stuff was festering before that.
Right. No, it had been building up. She
Yeah.
had been stacking her dominoes.
Yeah, and I think this was finally the
For a
Bernie
while.
thing was finally when people went, okay, yeah, you're an
done.
idiot. So Hillary, for that reason, for the fact that first off you stonewalled one of your own.
A few of your
own. Yeah, more than one. You stonewalled a few of your own. It's pretty sure that you murdered a number of people that were ready to testify against you. But that's a whole other topic for another conversation.
Those are conspiracy
That-
theories like none other.
Oh,
man.
but they're pretty darn tough to dispute conspiracy theories. So the
Oh.
fact that you did that, the fact that you lied, the fact that you don't care about human lives, the fact that you sat there in front of a congressional hearing and asked us what difference does it make, the fact that you made yourself an unlikable candidate, and the fact that you've now released a book entitled What Happened, because you were apparently too fucking stupid to figure it out for yourself, dumb shit. That, I don't know, maybe you're a crap candidate who needs to just quit politics and public speaking altogether. Oh, and here's the final nail in this coffin, and then I'll end it here, is that she has the balls on this woman to charge big money for her book tour. To charge
Oh, of
big
course
money
she
to come
does.
get her lambasting, blame-shifting book signed. I don't want
surprised
that
at
rag
all.
signed, and I wouldn't give you my hard-earned money if you begged me. So take that, you politic of the century.
Well, you know why, right? Because of the Clinton organization's stock went in the shitter.
Went in the shitter, and people stopped funding it as soon as she lost.
Seriously,
Surprise,
I'm
surprise.
sure they lost so
Oh, they
much
did.
money.
They
dude.
lost millions. I'd be lucky if they got a buck left in their account
It's
right
no
now.
wonder that she's gouging everybody
Oh yeah,
on
everybody.
this book
Yeah,
tour, dude.
It's ridiculous. So
For the people, my ass.
So Clinton,
Wow.
good luck to you.
What a week, man.
Woo!
Hillary Clinton, Rush Limbaugh, Kirk Cameron,
Tell ya,
Jennifer
everyone
Lawrence.
is just being stupid this week.
Ooh. Pun intended. That was a flood of insanity, man. Like,
Oh hell yeah, that absolutely was.
you know what? I actually think I might need a little breather.
definitely need a
Let's take a little break.
So hang tight, listeners. We'll be back.
Because we got a lot more to
got a
cover,
lot- oh,
and
dude.
this is just starting. And we're back.
Don't you feel lucky,
So lucky.
punk?
Well, we are going to jump right into our headliner this week because I'm sure we both have a lot to say, and there's a lot of information and a lot of speculation and a lot of
Irritation,
Yeah.
consternation, conflagration, all of it.
Constipation.
Probably.
procrastination.
Procrastination.
But
So, what do we got,
this kind of it treads a little bit on the immigration thing. I would say a lot of it does, but this one specifically deals heavily with what is referred to as DACA, which is an acronym for Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Now, for those of you that don't know what this is, for our listeners either that don't live in America or those that live in America and under a rock, this is an American immigration policy established by the Obama administration in June of 2012. Now, what it does is that the policy allows some individuals who entered the country illegally as minors to receive a renewable 2-year period of deferred action from deportation and eligibility for a work permit. And as of 2017, approximately 800,000 individuals, they are referred to as Dreamers after the DREAM Act bill, were enrolled within the program created by DACA. So essentially, to kind of simplify it a little bit, if a child is brought over here as a minor per illegal immigration, per their parents bringing them over as illegal immigrants, obviously, if the parents are caught and deported, there's, some amount of prosecution. But DACA basically keeps it so that the children do not face any amount of prosecution or deportation simply because they're kids. They don't have a say in whether they come over here or not. I mean, they're kind of forced to
Come with us or die type of thing.
Exactly. Come with us or you're dead kind of thing. And of course, every 6-year-old on the planet's going to go, well, I guess I better do that.
No, I want to stay in this third world country that I might possibly die in or get killed.
Exactly. So the thing is that, yes, on the surface, this definitely has a lot of good things, personally. Because again, like, and this is something you'll find out, and if you don't know, then you will, is that when it comes to kids, kids are off limits, in my opinion. Whenever they become massively affected by something that they don't have any control over, I mean, I'm
Usually negatively.
exactly in a very negative way. I'm like, no, you leave the kids out of it. They don't deserve to deal with us because we can't get our heads out of our asses and try to make anything work.
It's pretty true.
So that's what I appreciate about programs like DACA, because obviously we realized, well, I mean, they didn't have a choice. But unfortunately, there are pieces of DACA that I guess are more questionable, I would say.
They're not conducive. Well, first off, some of them are.
You have more info on it.
Yeah, I did a lot. I did a lot of research before you came over to
Right.
start this podcast today. Because again, like you say, I think that the heart of DACA is in the right place,
Uh-huh.
but the process of DACA is not where it should be.
What do you know, folks? Government trying to process
Government
anything,
didn't
and
work.
it gets fucked up.
Surprise! 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 So here's the little bit of research that I found on DACA. Basically, like you say, DACA provides basically pseudo-legal status to illegal aliens brought to the U.S. as minors. Mm-hmm. Like you say, it does grant them the assurance that they won't be deported or prosecuted for crap that their parents pulled. Unfortunately, as we've mentioned before in this podcast, the U.S. government has for many years failed to faithfully enforce our immigration laws, or to come up with immigration laws that are, smart.
Now,
Obviously, this has inevitably encouraged more and more illegal immigration, and DACA was an attempt at curbing this. Again, it didn't do the job it should have done. My major issue with DACA is not so much what it does, although I will get into that a bit too. My problem with DACA is how it came into existence. Because DACA was not...
bear down, folks. He's about to blast
I'm about to
Obama
blast-
again.
Well, he deserves it. Here we go. DACA was not vetted through Congress. DACA was not approved by Congress. DACA was basically pushed through by Obama. Now, granted, I don't remember if it was executive order or if he wrote it on the back of a damn cocktail napkin and went, do this. Point is, he didn't go through the proper channels, instead pushed it through. Surprise, surprise, is his normal song and dance anyway, wiping his ass with the Constitution. But in this particular case, the problem with this particular instance was, under our Constitution, Congress has authority over immigration, and the President only has authority that has been delegated to him by Congress. Mm-hmm. And essentially, what was happening was Congress was shooting down other provisions that he brought up, including DAPA, which was a precursor to DACA, which the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals upheld an injunction against, basically because it wasn't constitutionally sound.
Right.
I believe what it was the Fifth Circuit Court said the fact that the President declined to enforce the law and remove illegal aliens, quote, does not transform presence deemed unlawful by Congress into lawful presence and confer eligibility for otherwise unavailable benefits based on that charge. So basically what the Fifth Circuit Court was saying was, just because you as the President now deemed illegals lawful, we now have to abide by this. No, that was the problem with DAPA. So that's why DACA was drafted up and...
So DACA was technically the second incarnation.
Yes, DACA was the second incarnation of something even far more illegal or unconstitutional that came before.
Interesting.
And this is just personal opinion and opinion of several other people, but Obama basically acted beyond his constitutional authority when he provided, through DAPA, pseudo-amnesty and government benefits that had not been authorized by Congress, because they hadn't. None of the benefits, none of the stipulations, none of the bylines, anything in DACA had been approved by Congress. This was purely a presidential decree.
Uh-huh.
Problem with DACA is again, not only was it theoretically unconstitutional, it wasn't entirely fair to citizens. I'm not talking, white people, because people hear the word citizens and they think, it must be talking about white guys. I'm talking about citizens. Born citizens, naturalized citizens.
Right.
Of course, President Obama unilaterally created this unauthorized program. So Trump...
Well, I do know that for the last 5 years, since it's coming to fruition, I know that DACA has been challenged by plenty of courts. And
it's been challenged by courts. It's been challenged by 10 separate states sued over the program.
Right. Ultimately, I found out that it actually was rescinded before its current status
Really?
right now. That's what I'm looking right here.
Oh,
I could be wrong, but that's what I find very interesting is that, The challenges to the policy trace back to November of 2014 when President Obama attempted to expand DACA to cover additional immigrants. Multiple states, however, like Jim said, sued to prevent said expansion, which was ultimately blocked by the courts. Several months later, and in a response to the court's determinations, the U.S. Department of Homeland Security rescinded the expansion on June 16th, 2017, while continuing to review the existence of the DACA program as a whole. And then unfortunately, and this is why it is our main headliner as of right now, is that not by the courts, not by Congress, not by any other bureaucratic system, but the policy was ultimately rescinded by Donald Trump himself as of September 5th, 2017. And that's mainly the reason why I think this is a big issue right now, is that it seems like people have been wanting to delay its expansion and such like that for many years, and then Trump just comes along and just squashes it completely, essentially. Or it seems like he squashes it completely.
Well, he didn't, but
so.
I can see from what certain people's point of view why that might seem like that. Because again, as with Trump, as we have come to find out with our good old, whether it's media or whether it's liberals or whomever, whenever Trump does something, the first initial reaction is to go, "But that's not fair," like, you know, and then people like just freak out, lose their shit, toss their taters, what the fuck ever. But look, Trump did not simply squash DACA. He did not turn it off. He did not phase it out. He did not end it completely.
Right. I will agree that I was definitely one of those, like, why the hell would he do this, like, kind of thing.
Well,
but
because everybody, that's what everybody thinks when Trump does something. Why would he do such a thing? He must be a racist. Like, that's just, you know, that's people's knee-jerk reaction.
I mean, for me, it was never a racist issue.
No,
it was a
just,
children's issue.
Yeah, it was just,
like,
why is he
again,
doing
when
this?
kids are involved, you fucking leave them alone. Like,
but here's the issue. Again, DACA was not phased out, and it wasn't turned off completely. Basically, it is a winding down of the program.
yeah.
I have it written down here from the notes. It says, while new applications for work permits will not be accepted, all existing work permits will be honored until their date of expiration, up to 2 full years from today. Furthermore, applications already in the pipeline will be processed, as will renewal applications for those facing near-term expiration.
So it's basically just anybody wanting a new application is going to get denied.
Yeah, essentially. If you're already in the pipeline, you're safe, but if you're fresh into the DACA headquarters and go, hey, I want to fill out an application, no.
The intriguing thing about this, and I don't think it really has anything to do with the policy itself, but more so who the policy is for. Because look at these numbers. From June 2012 up until June 2017, 800,000 people?
Yeah.
Within 5 years? That seems odd. Doesn't that seem odd to you? There's that many within only 5 years.
Not that odd, because look,
Those are just minors. Those are just minors, though.
Well, no, those are illegal immigrants between the ages of 15 and 36. So that counts.
Okay, well, that's a
the
little
entire
different
block.
then. That just still seems like an odd number. But that's the problem, is that, yes, at the heart and at the core of DACA, it is a great policy. It helps out a lot of individuals. The problem is that, of course, anything good out there, some fucknut's gonna come around and ruin it for everybody, ruin it for the whole class. And see, that's the thing, is that people that when people find loopholes or they want to take advantage of something, they will do it. Because again, 800,000 individuals seems like a lot over a 5-year period. I could be wrong, but it just seems like a lot. But that's why I'm wondering if, like, people wanted to take advantage of it and be like, you know, oh, well, clearly, like, you know, we can do this kind of thing.
If you offer people, I don't know, free cake, a car wash, and a cool t-shirt, you're going to get a lot of people that show up for that.
Yeah, obviously.
That's kind of the same thing with DACA. If you go, hey, if you bring your kid over here to this country, you're illegal, we won't do anything to your kid. They'll be safe. Don't you think if you wanted a better life for your kid, or you wanted a better life for yourself, but you wanted to use your kid as your scapegoat to get over here?
Oh, no.
Don't you think that you would want to do the same thing?
Well, absolutely.
So
like,
800,000
right.
to me doesn't seem like a huge number. It actually seems like a pretty logical number. Everybody in their, you know, abuelita wants to come over here.
Exactly.
And,
it's because,
and,
you know, as any parent would say, and Jim and I are not parents, so,
Nope.
except for our dogs, but I don't know if that counts. But
sometimes it feels like
it really does. For those of you that aren't sure, Jim and I are currently working on a project. We're writing a project entitled Paper Children. And Paper Children essentially tells the story of the Angel Island immigration station that was in effect from 1910 to 1940 that essentially housed, processed, and, for lack of a better term, imprisoned millions of Asian immigrants, and a lot of it was because of, like, you know, the Chinese Exclusion Act of the of 1882, was it?
Yeah,
I believe so. So it's the first federal act that 100% barred a specific
ethnic group.
Thank you, from entering this country, and there was a lot of problems with that. So,
as you would imagine.
But yeah, people were being processed through this immigration station, and they were prisoners. I mean, if you look at the difference between Angel Island and Ellis Island, I mean, Ellis Island was processing people within hours. Angel Island processed people within weeks to months.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the people that got processed spent over 2 years on that island because they wanted to delay it that bad. It was essentially a prison.
Yeah.
I mean, in some way it was.
In a turn of phrase, it was.
But something that we found interesting is that a lot of the kids that got processed through there were not actually kids of the adults that they went with. And a lot of that was because the parents that lived in China or Japan or the Southeast Asia, or they couldn't make it, they couldn't go, but they wanted their children to go. They wanted their kids to have a better life, so then they would send kids with like neighbors or family friends and say, claim my child as your child and give them a good life in America. Unfortunately, a lot of children did come under fire through Angel Island because of that situation. So we've been learning a lot that, I mean, this is not an issue all of a sudden now this is an issue. No, this has been happening for at least 100 years. If not longer.
I would argue longer. I would argue almost 150 years.
Yeah. And I think that's the hard thing is that, yes, at the heart of this, it is a good thing, but, I mean, people are going to take advantage of it. People are going to screw with the system.
Not only are they going to take advantage of it, but people who legislate the law themselves are going to take advantage of it. Because like I said, DACA is good in theory, but what it does isn't very helpful to either the immigrant or the citizen. Mm-hmm. It doesn't really help either one. And it's like, well, I get what you're trying to do, but you're just damaging the system further.
Yeah.
And that was my major issue with DACA, and that's why I was glad to see that it was rescinded, but I was also glad to see that it wasn't a complete cut it and leave.
I was too. I mean, obviously, like, if there is any substantial cutthroat rescinding of anything, then that needs to be put into question. But if Trump, he's got 6 months to prove it, but...
Well, no, Congress has 6 months to
I'd
prove
say
it.
they both have 6 months to prove it.
When the ball's in their court, the Congress is the one who's got to make the decision.
I know,
the president gave them the
I know, but
ultimatum.
that's the struggle. I mean, that my hope and my prayers are that within 6 months they find some way to either strengthen the program or find...
I'm still for the RAISE Act, which we talked about in our
we did
the
talk
immigration
about
game
that.
episode.
Yeah, the immigration game.
Which
yeah,
I'm still for that act because that would basically that's the merit-based system that I believe produced lasting gains for the American people, including the immigrants that it's for.
Mm-hmm.
I think if
but I think that's the struggle is that, again, just when you look at the numbers, it's just like, this is why
it's overwhelming.
This is why I didn't go into any like statistics class. Like,
I know,
ever.
right?
I can't handle it. I'm good at math, but I'm like, no, screw it.
No, too many numbers.
When it comes to like the details and I guess the semantics of DACA, it seems like no one really knows like the truth behind it.
Well, because it never went through Congress. Nobody knows the law because there's no actual law to go back to and go,
right.
Oh, hey, this is what it was.
Because a lot of people are saying that, you know, the people that are involved in DACA, they don't pay taxes, they're collecting welfare benefits, blah, blah, blah. But then you do some research and you find out, oh, no, they actually do pay income taxes. And this is an interesting figure, is that collectively, every member of DACA a year pays $11.64 billion a year in income taxes. That's just from those in the DACA program. That's a lot of fucking money from immigrants, you know. Not only that, there's a stipulation within the DACA program that states that they cannot collect welfare benefits. And a lot of people say they can. And a lot of people say they can't. So it's
that's what I'm saying. Like, how do you?
Where's the truth?
Where's the truth? I mean, where's the truth? I mean, we could be looking at an article that might be a complete bunk. We don't know.
Yeah.
What little I have heard of the DACA before it was rescinded, I didn't like it. I didn't like how it came into existence. I didn't like who pushed it through. I didn't like what it said. I didn't like what it was doing to us.
But at the same time, you can say the same thing for the RAISE Act that we talked about. Because on the surface, yes, it's a good idea, but there were a lot of details within the RAISE Act that I was like, you need to go back and relook at that.
Like what? I know we discussed, but like what? Like bring one.
A lot of it was the I didn't like the numbers. I didn't like that we restricted way too many people.
Yeah, but
And-
actually, if you look at it, this is the number of people that would allow in are far more than the number of people that we've been allowing in this country for the past 20, 30, 40 years.
Is it though?
Yeah, it is.
All
The
right.
number of immigrants we've been allowing are almost
look at
double
that
than
again.
that from, I think, 1975 or whatever. I forget where it was I saw the numbers. But I'm like, yeah, we're actually allowing in, and even under the RAISE Act, we would allow far more in than we ever have previously. So I'm like, well, you can't say that, oh, we're allowing less than ever when, no, actually we're allowing more than we did in the 80s.
Yeah, it's just interesting when you read a lot about from here, research shows that DACA increased the wages and labor force participation of DACA-eligible immigrants, while another article showed that DACA reduced the number of unauthorized immigrant households living in poverty. Another study shows that DACA increased the mental health outcomes for DACA-eligible immigrants and their children. It says here there are no known major adverse impacts from DACA on native-born workers' employment, while most economists say that DACA benefits the U.S. economy.
And see, I've heard just the opposite. So again, where do we, where do we
yeah,
go? Where do you
it's
go for the truth? And I wish
of
we
a
had
bitch.
actual truth. Like I wish we had the actual die hard written in stone. This is what it does. Is what it doesn't. But all I'm telling you, again, at our show, which all we do is just point of view and commentary. But on our show, I can tell you this: is I'm glad that we've gone away from this system. But I agree. I hope that Congress, now that Trump has given them 6 months to get their act together, which we all seen how easy that is for Congress to do. But I really would hope that they would actually get together bipartisanly and go, okay, we need to figure this out, and we need to figure out an act and a plan and a bill that is going to benefit immigrants everywhere, whether you're from down south, up north, east, west, it doesn't matter. Wherever you're from, we'll let it benefit you, and also protect citizens that are already here in this country and who have been born here.
Right.
I don't want an act or a bill to ding citizens in favor of illegal immigrants.
Well, but here's something, though, when it comes to the illegal immigrants. I'm going to just take a stance right now and squash this whole idea of, can't have illegal immigrants because they're felons and they're criminals and then this and that. Okay, there may be like a few isolated incidences of that, but that is not across the board because, first off, to be eligible for the program, recipients may not have felonies or serious misdemeanors on their records. Now, that's not to say that a few people are going to squeak past the system. I mean, there's people in this own country, native-born Americans, not Native Americans, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get you.
People that are born within the 50 states that have squeaked past the system when they've committed a crime. Happens all the time.
Look, it happens whether you're an immigrant or a citizen.
Exactly. But I like that is a caveat in there, that they cannot have any blemish on their record whatsoever.
But I think what's frustrating, though, along those lines, is that DACA, in that regard, almost seems like a Band-Aid because we still have these immigrants coming in that have been deported 20 times yet still show up, and then they commit a crime, and then we go, well, he was deported 20 times, what happened?
According to this, there is no evidence that DACA-eligible individuals are more likely to commit crimes than U.S. citizens.
I'm not worried about...
So, I mean, it sounds like, as much as there are problems within DACA, it sounds like it's thorough enough to where we don't have to worry about immigrants within DACA.
Well, apparently it wasn't thorough enough because they're looking into replacing it.
Well, it wasn't thorough enough to Republicans.
It wasn't thorough enough to anybody. Let's be honest, dude. That was not thorough. Look, before we ask what's fair to illegal immigrants, we got to ask what's fair to American citizens, to families, to people who have been naturalized here, to taxpayers, job seekers, that kind of thing. Look, I get it. DACA was pushing for like I said, a good intention, but I don't think it was the final answer. I think we need to find what the final answer is in the immigration system. Whether it's something that Congress can figure out on their own, God, I hope so, because otherwise we're going to be kicking this around for the next 20 years.
Dude, how badass would that be if that was like the ultimate Christmas present to America, was that Congress finally came together and like solved this immigration issue?
I would be so
by
happy.
the holidays.
I would be but first off, I'd be shocked.
I would be too.
By the holidays, I'd be like, holy crap. And then I'd probably write them all a letter going, I don't know what you guys did, but you're my new favorite Congress. But I don't know. Do I think they will? I give them a 30-40% chance of success.
Yeah. Whether or not you agree with what Trump did, and honestly, I think this whole battle between what Obama did with DACA 5 years ago and what Trump's doing with the quote-unquote rescinding of it, I think that, and this could be a whole nother episode, this brings into question, like, how extensive should the powers of executive orders go?
Well, executive orders as they stand, they can't do anything to violate Congress, which Obama's order already did.
Right, but there's stuff that Trump's done that's been questionable to Congress. There's stuff that Bush has done, that Clinton's done.
No, but I mean, like
literally
there's no-
stuff that
I'm
every
saying-
president
I'm
that
saying
Congress
an
went,
executive
hang on
order-
a minute.
Executive orders can be made until I'm not talking about is this or is this not a congressional overreach. I don't know. No, it's got to be something that's like legit. No, Prez, you can't do this because this is that's where executive orders start coming into question, and that's why I dislike what Obama did because it was outright unconstitutional. He totally sidestepped Congress, as he constantly did every damn time he would try to pass a law. It's like the guy didn't think he needed Congress, just a phone call and a pen, that whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bullshit.
I'm
Dude. That's not how
wondering-
you run a country.
I would like to make a list of like executive orders that I'm wondering like could it or could it not pass. They have to be like really just bizarre out there executive orders. For example, just right off the top of my head, one executive order that someone could sign would be every college student between the ages of 18 to 24 will receive one high-end escort for
I'm going back to college.
No, you have to be between the ages of 18 and 24.
God
like
damn it.
I know, right? Like really just outlandish things. You know what? I'm gonna make a list of like fake executive orders that are like just some of the most like bizarre out
Every
there.
college student must wear clown shoes for 5
Yeah,
months.
like shit like that. You know what I mean? And let's test it. I would say let's try to test every executive order, whether it is congressional overreach or not.
Right.
I think that'd be kind of fun. Let's see how far we can get away with shit. And this is what's such a struggle with me is that we're gonna allow upwards of 6 months for Congress to, God willing, get their act together and actually work. But it's so interesting and really disturbing that the stakes of livelihoods of human beings, and specifically children, not only within this country but across the borders, it's the livelihood of human beings that we're constantly going to the floor with. And I think that's what hurts the most is that, like you said, like either the president or Congress or whoever, they just pitter-patter around like not really caring. And I'm like, you're dealing with people's lives, you idiots!
Yeah.
God damn it! Like,
And I don't know if it's the nature of politics or if it's just the person in the office or in the chair or whatever it happens to be, but we've got to be serious about our politics. We've got to be serious about our job. And look, I'm all for opportunity for immigrants, legal immigrants. I'm for opportunity for anybody. American citizens, legal immigrants, whomever. But we are a nation of opportunity because we are a nation of laws. And the law
which still seems kind of backwards to me if you...
what because we're a nation of laws?
Yeah, we're a nation of opportunity because we're a nation of laws. Like, what?
Well, think about it. If you have no laws, well, yeah, sure, anything goes, but what's to say that everyone's going to get opportunity? What's to
Right.
say there's not going to be a faction of people that take over and go, no, because there's no laws, we do whatever we want, so screw you. You're not. What I'm saying is our system could be abused if there was no laws. If you're talking complete anarchy, or you're talking no laws in that particular area of legislation, or loose laws, or laws that can't be interpreted, or in this particular case, a law that can't be interpreted because it was put through by someone who wasn't Congress, do you see the problem?
Well,
the problem
but-
is now you're restricting opportunity.
True, but let's think about this in this way. We have seen, per whatever presidents do, that they have a problem with Congress because Congress decides, they are like, yeah, we're going to make problems.
Well,
for
because it's a
everybody.
popularity game.
It really is.
It comes down
really
to,
is.
you're not our guy in the White House, so we're going to cause you issues.
But that's my question is that, I mean, I'm going to say this and you're going to say, absolutely. But is the president really to blame, Jim? Yes, they are. When they want to do something and they know they have like a weird soothsayer type of power where they can see into the future and they can see that Congress is going to go to whatever they want to do. Because I bet you that Obama knew that this DACA program, this DACA policy that he wanted to implement or change or expand or whatever, knew that Congress was going to have so many problems with it and were going to shut him down. Because again, Republicans in 2012 had the House. Didn't they? Or they had Congress?
I believe so.
What did they have?
They had
the majority.
They had
within-
majority
They
somewhere.
had majority within
God, I don't know why I'm
Congress.
forgetting this. I used to know this.
I
Yeah, I
know.
want to say yes.
I'm pretty sure they had majority in Congress, and of course, as we've seen, Democrats and Republicans for some reason refuse to
Get
work
along?
together. Yeah, it's just like, how is this hard? But he knew that they weren't gonna support it. He knew that they weren't going to follow through with their job. Seriously, I've never seen a more ridiculous group of individuals that I'm like, this is your job, and yet you
What,
can't
then
even.
Congress?
Yeah, it's like you can't even do your fucking job.
Well,
like,
I know where you're going with this. I'm going to answer it right now so I can. What I think that he would just go ahead and do it anyway because he saw that there'd be a bunch of obstruction and he was going to get shot down anyway. anyway, so why not push it through?
Yeah.
Look,
It's tough, right?
not when you're violating congressional law. What I would have done if I were him is go, look, I know that I'm going to get shot down, most likely. I'm going to propose this bill to Congress. I'm going to let them kick it around for a little bit. I know they're probably going to shit on it because they're Congress, they don't like me, but what the hell. I'll give it to them anyway, just to show the people I'm doing my due diligence.
But that's the struggle, is that he wanted to get shit done, as any president does.
wanted
They
to get-
wanted to get stuff done.
I'm trying so not right now to Obama bashing it so hard. So hard. He wanted to get, well, I think what he wanted to get done wasn't in the
Don't
in the
think
best.
of him as Obama. Think of it as president. Don't put Obama's face to it. Just president versus Congress.
Okay, that's easy for me to do because I've always said this, whether he was Obama or Bobo the trained chimp, I don't think he had the best interest of the country.
Okay.
In the stuff that he did. I don't think any of the most of the congressional stuff he pushed through. Some things I'm like, wow, that's actually pretty right on.
Yeah.
But most of the stuff that he pushed through, I don't think he had the country's best interest. So why did he do this? Because he's figured, screw the country. I'm going to do what I want to do anyway because I'm president. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. And that's not how the office works. Like, look, you can push things through executive order, but you can't be surprised when you push something through executive order that's not constitutionally sound or legally sound and then have it rescinded or shot down or sued or whatever. You can't be surprised by the pushback on it because recently Obama expressed his displeasure of what Trump did with rescinding DACA.
Right.
And I'm like, well, dude, you can't really be surprised this shit was going to happen with how you did it and how you went about doing it and what was in the law and how many people pushed back. You can't be like, oh, this was a shock.
See, but I feel like he was surprised because even if he did go behind Congress's back to try to push it, at least people were like, okay, the way you went about this was wrong, but they actually liked the program. That's the funny thing, is that people actually thought it was a good program.
Well, not everybody thought it. There was a number of people who didn't think it was a good program. I'm not just talking Republicans. Again, I don't have the people or the organizations or whatnot, but I know that a number of people.
But it was considered enough to a point where it was like, okay, this isn't done yet. It needs to cook a little longer.
Well,
obviously, you need to put it back in the oven for a little bit
yeah,
longer.
and it should have gone back in the oven again and cooked even longer. So, but now it was overcooked.
But that's the thing. At least some people could at least, like, smell it a little bit and go, ooh, it does kind of smell a little nice. But it might be questionable to eat.
Well, what you do with any food that you're cooking, it's a questionable to eat. You throw it out and start again. And that's what we had to do with the rescinding of DACA. Is we're paring it down, we're phasing it out little by little, step by step, and then giving Congress 6 months to figure their shit out before it goes back to Trump, and he'd probably push something through executive order. Who knows?
For sure.
I know where you're coming from, and I know it's very difficult for you because it's the kids thing. It's the kids thing. Blah blah blah.
It's going to be the kids.
But look,
because
look,
again, this is the livelihood of children we are talking about.
But look, okay,
like,
this is my, and I was going to hold off on
especially,
this.
if I may, just one quick little thing that I saw. I don't know if you saw it, Jim, but there was a video I saw of a congressman. He was at the House and he was presenting, and I can't remember the guy's name, but I mean, obviously, this is just one story out of, hundreds of thousands of individuals, but this is something that I think speaks volumes in a way. I think the representation of it is very powerful. There was an individual, and I can't remember his name, but he's Mexican. He was brought over because of programs like DACA. Programs that gave him an opportunity to come over here, to stay here, and to do whatever he needed to naturalize himself and create for himself a life in the United States.
So he became a citizen,
Yes.
a legal citizen.
He's a certified paramedic.
Okay.
In this nation. I'm almost certain he's now a naturalized citizen.
Okay, that's going to be the big caveat to my retort.
Well, even then, if it wasn't, it's because of what this guy did. He's EMT. He was one of the first responders for Hurricane Harvey. And for 6 days straight, I'm sure with very little sleep, he scoured the entire city, saving, I don't even know how many, like countless lives. So think about it. If a guy like that, I mean, and everything, hindsight's 2020. If a guy like that, who was able to stay in this country because of programs like that, was able to do what he did in first response to Hurricane Harvey and the decimation of Houston, Texas, if he wasn't protected, who's to say those lives would still be around? Well, and again, it's a sob story.
Yeah, okay, I wasn't going to say that, but
it is. I will admit, it is a bit of a sob story.
It's a hypothetical because
Right,
what
but-
if he wasn't here? Maybe somebody else, other paramedic would be in his position, and they
Right,
would've been the
exactly.
first responder.
You never know. You never
But
know.
obviously, this guy was pretty meritorious.
Yeah.
For what he did, and
Yeah.
I'm sure that was his character anyway.
Right.
If somebody like him were to go through something like the RAISE Act, if it did become a law, where it did reward him for his merits and for his ability and for his job and for his skill and his talent,
Yeah.
then I would say the story would have the same ending. He would still be saving people's lives. He'd still be a first responder. as a citizen. Now, again, I don't know if he's a citizen now or if he's still unnatural. I don't know.
From what I heard, he is.
Okay. So,
Because he came over when he was like, I don't know, 6 years old or something like that.
It really,
so.
then it's a moot point because he is a citizen. So he just happened to be a first responder. So,
Right.
but I'm saying that if Congress gets their act together, comes up with something like the RAISE Act, passes something like that, where it does reward immigrants on a merit-based system, and it does reward them for their skill and for their merit and for their all of the good points, then yeah, you'll see a lot more guys like that guy, like that first responder, because it'll be through a system that works, a system that raises people up based on merit, based on their own good traits.
That's
And
kind of where
what we
I'm
need.
at. Like, I'm kind of like, you know what? Regardless of borders or party lines or whatever, in my head, I'm just like, look, if you can do the job, if you can do the job well and not be a dick, you're more than welcome here. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to battle back and forth too much, but I think, if you can do it well, sure, but you need to do it the right way.
Yeah.
Look, dude, if our ancestors came through Ellis Island, which I know mine did, I'm pretty sure yours did too, at least half of them. The other half are already here running away from the white man. But if our ancestors came through and did it the legal way and worked their asses off and became part of the system and made sure that they left their mark on this country, other people can do it too. So yes, you are welcome here, but you are welcome here to do it the legal and the right way. If so, if you go through those channels, and if people in the Congress can figure out how to make it easier,
Well,
then-
you just will not let go of this whole Congress thing.
That-
Like,
no, because they need
you're
to-
really trying to like, hey, do it.
They need to
your act
get
together.
their act together, because if they don't get their act together and they'll start doing shit, they're going to start losing seats.
Oh, I'm surprised they haven't yet.
Right. But honestly, I want to see systems work. I want to see Congress do its job, and I want to see good bills get passed that do reward immigrants who do it the right way.
Yeah.
Because look, this country was founded on immigrants, founded on people from over the sea and across borders. So absolutely, I want to see immigrants come here. But again, as my final word, I want to see them do it the right way, and I want to see it done in a way where the rest of us aren't hurt because of it. That's all I'm asking.
I think, if I may, I know that we need to wrap up here pretty soon, but just a quick little side note. I don't want to get too much into it, but I just thought that this was a neat perspective. And again, we don't have to like go into like a huge debate with it, but I'm curious what your thoughts are, because I know what my thoughts are. This is from a friend of mine, and I won't say his name just to protect his reputation, but he's a black friend of mine. He lives in Georgia, and he made a comment that to me I was like, oh shit, that's heavy. So he goes, now that we are holding dreamers accountable for the sins of their parents, this black American will be checking the mailbox frequently in anticipation of my reparations check. I went, whoa.
You want to know my reply?
I'm afraid to know your reply.
You want to know it?
I don't know, because I don't know if we're like, he's gonna hate you now, or
He might. My reply: get in line. You're not.
mean get in
You're not the
line?
only one who gets a reparation check. So do Native Americans. So do the Chinese. So do everybody. Yeah, look, to think that where's your well, you'll get one, dude, but it's gonna be a small ass check. It's gonna be like $5 because everybody else is gonna get one.
I appreciated and respected the perspective.
You confused me already, dude.
Tongue twister.
Right.
I just appreciated it because it's true. It seems to be odd that we have this mentality. Certain people in this country have this mentality that we need to punish certain individuals because of the sins of the past. You know, I know that you and I have dealt with issues from our past. I mean, it's funny growing up as a kid, like you see all this like craziness go on, but for the most part, you're pretty oblivious to like the real shit that's happening. But I mean, you're pretty aware of like some pretty gnarly stuff. But it wasn't until I was an adult and older of an adult, I'd say like when I was like 26, 27, when I started to learn about the really, really dark ass skeletons within my family's closet that sparked some pretty nasty arguments and isolation. Like, there were certain people in the family I couldn't speak to for like months and still don't speak to because I can't handle it. I can't handle the fact that this was going on while I was a kid, and A, the fact that it was happening, A, but then B, the fact that I didn't know about it.
You're totally oblivious to it.
Yeah, because I'm just a kid, and I'm like, how is no one else like, ugh.
How's no one else completely put off by it?
But it sucks that now that because people from my family that did some shitty things that fucked up in like massive ways, now I may not be dealing with it on a fiduciary level or stuff like that, but I'm dealing with it on a mental and emotional level. I struggle a lot with the stuff that happened in my family's
because
past.
that kind of thing echoes through generations. Look, I've had things in my
hate
family
that.
happen where it's affected my grandmother, my mother, and to a degree, luckily not as much, but it's affected me, where it affected their character, or it affected how their outlook on life, or their
Right.
outlook on or whatever happened happened to be, because of something that their great-great-grandfather, or whomever, or their grandfather, or their father, whoever it was, because of something that happened earlier on, the ripple effect went through the generations, and it affected them emotionally and mentally.
It's so hard to break that ripple, and the problem is that I don't think we ever can break that type of ripple effect.
Well, I think you can, but it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and a lot of discipline. And look,
but that's why I liked where he was coming from. It's this idea that we need to stop punishing people for shit that happened back then, because I think there's a part of me that wants to believe that this friend of mine is saying that, look, shitty things happened in the past, but they don't have to happen right now. And he realizes that the family line that may have been responsible for owning slaves or genocide or whatever, that's not who their descendants are today. We realize that these generational gaps, people have learned, people have realized, oh man, there was some crappy stuff that happened and that we feel really bad and guilty about, but we need to realize that it's not about you, it's about us kind of thing. You know what I mean?
But that's why things like these new acts that are being proposed, or why Congress is being given 6 months to figure something out. That's why we're doing this right now, because we're looking to see, okay, let's fix this system. Let's make sure that we stop blaming people in the past. I mean, look, you know how legislation works. It's like making an omelet. You have to break eggs. You have to make a mess. It's going to be ugly before it gets better.
Yeah.
And I get where your friend is coming from, but the slippery slope with that is, look, everybody in this country deserves a reparation. Think about it. With that logic, everybody gets a check. And if everybody gets a check, well, then what's the point? You know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's frustrating. It's so, and
I was hoping we would end on a lighter note, but I'm kind of, I'm just like, yeah.
I know. This will probably be the one.
So depressed.
Look,
now.
not every episode are we gonna land on lollipops and gumdrops, but here's the bold fact of it. And this is gonna be my final word. Is that, like I said, we are a nation of opportunity because we are a nation of laws. But that being said, I want the best for our immigrants. I want the best for people who come over here and want a better life, because that's what this country is about.
Yeah.
We're not looking to turn people away, but we are looking to make sure that they do things the right way that's going to, first off, benefit themselves, but benefit our country. We want to make sure that it's done in the right way, that it doesn't end up being a problem later on. And that's why, and I've said it before, immigrants have to do it the right way. Illegal immigrant is right there in the word. That's why it can't be allowed.
Yeah.
But if you come through the proper way, well, God bless you, we want you here. As an American, I want you here. I want you here legally. I want you here as a citizen because, hey, you might be the next guy to solve cancer. You might be a brain surgeon who saves my daughter. I don't know. I don't know what you're going to do. But I want you to do it the right way, so that we're not constantly doing this dance every single time, or we're not blaming sins of the father on the son. I don't want to do that anymore, but I want a system that works, and I want people to do it the right way so that we can actually look forward instead of looking back.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
I
So
do.
that's my whole point to this, is we're all for the immigrant, because, again, we are a nation built on immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that we're going to come together on this is by realizing that we're also all Americans.
Yeah.
We need to look for what's good for the country. We need to look for what's good for us as a whole, not the individual, not the white guy, or the black guy, the Hispanic guy, the Chinese guy, or whatever. We need to look what's going to benefit and prosper us as Americans.
Yeah.
And honestly, say what you will about him, and I know a lot of people think I'm going to be crazy when I say this. I think that's where Trump is coming from. He is looking at trying to get us all together as Americans and what's good for us as Americans versus an individual people. Some might be, white Americans, but no. I think he's literally looking out for everybody. Does he go about it the right way all the time? Probably not. But
I'll attest to that.
I
He definitely doesn't go about it the right
I
way.
believe his heart is in the right place. If Congress can see this, and if the rest of the American people can see this, maybe we can actually get behind our elected leaders instead of constantly bad-mouthing them and wasting our time bashing them, and maybe helping them out. And maybe we can get to the point where this is no longer a conversation anymore. That's what I want.
I would probably say you're crazy with the whole Trump thing, but
You wouldn't be the only one.
I wouldn't be, but I'm also going to be someone who is, for sake of my patience and sanity, I'm going to hold out and hope for the best when it comes to him.
As I've said, I'm going to support him until I can't. I'm going to support him until he does something that is so blatantly wrong.
What if he, like, shoots a pug in the face?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of pugs. Is it like a puppy, or is it like one of those that like walk around with 3 legs? I could do one of those things.
Hey, don't besmirch handicapped dogs, okay?
No, poor dog.
Don't do it.
Don't bring dogs. 'Cause I'm a dog guy. Don't bring dogs. Don't make me choose like
All
dogs.
right.
Yeah, okay, if he does something
guess,
legitimately dumb, then I'm going to call him out. And trust me, we'll be the first ones to do it, folks, right here on this podcast.
I know. Well, if I can make one thing before your final note. Last night I showed my wife the movie Scent of a Woman starring Al Pacino and Chris O'Donnell, and if I may kind of reiterate something that you said about dancing, essentially, there's a big scene in the movie where Al Pacino, who's a blind veteran, he dances the tango with this complete stranger, and he dances it beautifully. He's really good at it. And I love the thing that he says in it is that the beauty about the tango is even if you get tangled up, tango on. So reiterating kind of that whole situation is that, yeah, a lot of what we go through, and especially immigrants, it's a dance of sorts. But if you stumble up or you trip up or if you forget a move, tango on.
Yeah, that plays into the point of just we have to push forward, not look back.
Yeah.
With immigration as a country. So, again, on a final note, folks, I know it's kind of a meh. But as a final note, look, we want what's best, and if we can look forward as Americans, I think we can find what we're looking for, and that's positive change, and that's positive growth as a country. So, with that being said, again, we thank you for coming with us on this little journey, giving you our honest opinion, pouring our hearts out to you, and hopefully giving you a little something to think. So with that being said, everyone, thanks again for joining us here on Spangled Banter. We hope you'll come back next week, where I'm sure we'll have more craziness, because it never ends.
America.
Fuck yeah.
As always, listeners, stay cool out there. Leave the crazy to us.
Rock on, dudes.
Later.